I have to explain what I mean by culture, and actually I'm building on the development of social anthropology in, say, the past 100 years. There was a time that people had a tendency to distinguish wild people and civilized people, and there were actually different kind of people completely. And then the development of social anthropology in the first half of the 20th century argued that all human societies were coping with the same kind of basic problems, but every society had found its own answers to that over time. That related to the concept of culture. Culture, in this sense, means that it is a way of acting, feeling and thinking shared by most members of a particular society. And that is culture in the anthropological sense. The moment that conscience had evolved, then the question became, well, if they have a limited number of basic problems, what are these basic problems and how do they cope with those problems? And then in my time, I say the time I started to occupy myself with this, we had the possibility of analyzing these problems with the help of information processing methods, computers actually. We compared societies by using a certain number of questions, which we asked to comparable samples of people from the various societies. Thus, by the analysis we did, we could detect what were the problems that were common everywhere and how the problems were resolved, what were the differences. And that we called dimensions of societal cultures. And in my work, there is a list of 6 dimensions now. I started with 4, but over time they have grown to 6, and these are the 6 dimensions. And what are the basic problems? The basic problems are, first of all, how does a society handle inequality? That we call power distance. And if there is a lot of inequality, then we call it large power distance. And if there is little inequality, we call it small power distance. Then the second dimension is to what extent are individuals dependent on the people around them. And if there is relatively little dependence on other people, at least that is what people strive for, we call that individualist societies. And if there is a lot of relationship, a lot of dependence between people who live close together, we call that collectivist societies. The third one is what is the emotional meaning of having been born as a woman or as a man, as a girl or as a boy. And because obviously there is a biological difference, and men cannot have babies, but there is also a difference in the kind of emotions that women are supposed to have, men are supposed to have, and that differs very clearly between one society and another. And that has also consequences for behavior and consequences for the social structure of the society. And that I have called masculinity, if there is a lot of difference, and femininity, if there is relatively little difference. And the next problem is how a society deals with the unknown. Obviously, the essence of living is that you never know what will happen tomorrow. You may expect what happened tomorrow, but you never know until it has happened. So there is always the unknown, and now some societies have developed a greater stability, a greater resistance to dealing with the unknown they're relatively easygoing in face of the unknown, and other societies are very tight. They want to know and to control as much as possible what will happen. And I've called that uncertainty avoidance. And if a society is tight, if a society wants to control the unknown, then I call it a strong uncertainty avoiding society. And if it's easygoing, I call it a weak uncertainty avoiding society. Those were the four original dimensions. And then over time, we found two more dimensions in data that were made available to us afterwards. And one is what I call time perspective. Some societies tend to look far ahead in the future, and some societies tend to work especially on the short term, and they are very much concerned with, let's say, what will happen this quarter or this year. And that is called long-term orientation versus short-term orientation. Our last dimension is about how a society, or the people in a society, deal with their natural drives. And we are all humans, and we all have certain drives. We have feelings which we can express, and we can feel happy, and we can dance, and we can laugh, and we can make love, and things like that. And in some societies, the expression of those drives is actually encouraged, it's tolerated, it's normal. And in other societies, the expression of such drive is considered sinful or unwanted, and people are supposed to control them, or society is supposed to control them. And in this case, we use the term from indulgence to restraint. Indulgent are societies where natural drives can be admitted, are even encouraged, and restrained societies are societies where natural drives should be controlled.